All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here. Thank you so much for tuning in to GSD Interviews. Before we jump into this interview, I want to give our sponsors a quick plug that make this show possible. So our first sponsor is our real estate software, www.perfectstormnow.com, the most affordable and effective lead generation software out there. This isn't just a website. Yeah, we've got a website. Yeah, we've got a blog feature. Yeah, we have testimonials and video client testimonials feature. We have community pages. We have all of the typical website stuff. Where we differentiate ourselves is on the lead generation. We teach you how to lead generate. This system is extremely effective with lead generation. We can teach you how to go out there and generate more leads than you can handle without spending a penny on lead generation, right? Not only, though, do we teach you how to lead generate, not only is it a great website, it's a coaching platform combined with software. So we have two monthly live training sessions that are 2 hours long with myself personally. So we teach you how to use the site, how to generate with the site, how to leverage the site. And it goes deeper than that. Okay, I'm getting all these leads. What do I do? What do I say? How do I convert these leads? So we go and train you and coach you on every aspect of that so you can go out there and dominate it in your business. You have access to me, my developers on a daily basis as a customer of ours. So it's $99 a month, no contracts, no registration fees. It's month to month, $99 a month. You can't beat it, right? So go check us out, www.perfectstormnow.com. Our next sponsor is my personal mentorship. You know, if you're ready to take your business, your life, your career to the next level, we've got my 90-day mastery boot camp, which is a mentorship with me personally. Every single week, it's 3 hours or 2 hours of live coaching and training with me, and then 1 hour of live Q&A. You have daily access to me and our private mastermind. We build out your playbook, every aspect of the residential real estate business, from how to lead generate to how to lead follow-up to how to do your presentations to how to build out your database. We even start talking about how to grow a team, how to hire, how to fire. There's nothing that we do not cover inside that program. Then after the program's done, after the initial 12-week program's done, it's an ongoing platform. It's $50 a month where you have access to me for as long as you want. You know, right? And in that $50 a month program, you guys, I've made that where $50 a month is more powerful than a $1,000 a month coaching program that you can get anywhere else. So we do 4 hours of monthly coaching at $50 a month. So you get 4 hours of live coaching. We have 2 in-person masterminds here in Phoenix, Arizona. They're every 6 months. It's a private mastermind with me and only the alumni bootcamp members that are part of the mentorship. We don't bring in guest speakers. There's nothing to sell. There's none of that crap that we all get at all these other seminars that we go to. You usually go pay $500 to a seminar and they try to sell you a bunch of shit. That's not what this is. This is hardcore masterminding. This is a hardcore mentorship, mastermind, and growth program. So if you guys want to learn more about that, www.90daymastery.com. Hope to see you guys in the program. All right, let's jump on into the interview. Hopefully you enjoy this as much as I did. What is up, my friends? Joshua Smith here, where every single week we interview top entrepreneurs and top real estate agents that are out there dominating their space. So you guys, today's guest, this is somebody I've been a big fan of for a lot of years. I started off my personal career in real estate with ReMax, and she was always at the top, always number one. So I've always been a massive fan. So I'm really, really stoked and honored to have Marti Hampton on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, Josh. It's good to be here.
Yeah, no, this is a massive honor. So, you know, I know that you're doing so many big things. You've got this really big team, one of the top real estate agents, not just in your city, but on the planet. But let's rewind the clocks. Before we get into what you're doing today, how did you get involved in real estate and really entrepreneurship in the first place?
Well, truthfully, I was a single parent. I married very early and divorced very early. And I had 3 beautiful children that I absolutely adored. And so one day when I was about 25 years old, I said, you know, what am I really going to do here? I only had a high school education. I had a little bit of college, but I mostly played bridge in college. So I won't even count that. But I just basically said, you know, what can I do? And of course, money and income had to be part of the equation because I had 3 children to raise. And I knew that that's a struggle within itself, but it could be a struggle without money, or it could be a struggle, hopefully, with a career that could produce a good income so that I could give my children the things that I wanted them to have. And that was very important to me. So I looked around. and I chose real estate. So it wasn't a second career for me. What I'm telling you, Josh, is I made a conscious decision to get into real estate and to go for it. And I did that. I got into real estate in Atlanta years and years ago, and I completely burned out after 3 years. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. I was fairly successful. As a matter of fact, I could tell you stories about that, but I was fairly successful. But I burned completely out because the phone rang all the time. I didn't have time for my children. It was just too much for me. So I let my license expire. Can you imagine? And so anyway, about within the next 2 to 3 years, I moved to North Carolina, where I am now in Raleigh, and found myself again divorced, unfortunately. And the same problem was facing me. So I went right back to real estate, this time with an absolute vengeance. Of course, I was very depleted. I didn't have very much confidence. I'll be honest with you. I started at the low end of the spectrum. I said, okay, where's the really low priced houses? Because that's the only one I feel confident talking to those people and trying to get my foot in the door, because I didn't have any relatives. I didn't have any sphere whatsoever. So that's how I started. And it was a rough road, for about probably about, I like to say for 8 years, I owed the government money, because you get behind in taxes, you get paid, you get behind in taxes, you live on. It was really bad. So that was the first 8 years.
Yeah, no, I love it. So, in your first 3 years, though, because most agents, they can never get the traction. They can never go out there, get enough deals. They get forced to go back into the corporate world or whatever. 90% of agents fail in the first 3 years, and it's because of lack of success. You had too much success. What were some of those early things that you were doing in the beginning to create so much success that burnt you out to the level that it did?
Well, I had a lot of energy, and I've had several brokers over the years, and one in particular that I remember, I didn't respect in any other form except he gave me one piece of advice that stuck with me. And he said, to do this business, you got to be in good shape. You got to have a lot of energy. So I believe that. I think you've got to have a lot of energy. And if I do things to increase my energy still unto this day. So I had a lot of energy. I knew my why. I knew exactly why I wanted to do this. And that drove me past the negativity that you certainly experience your first few years. And you never quit experiencing negativity in this business, by the way. And so that's part of what got me through those 3 years. I just didn't see another option that was viable for me. They say in war, if you really want to win a battle, you go over and you burn the bridge so that your soldiers don't have a way out. So I had no way out. It was either really make it big or just go on welfare or something.
Yeah. So then you have that business success your first 3 years. You decide to make a transition out of the business. You move up to North Carolina. You jump back in. What were some of those things that you learned though from your first 3 years that you applied that then made you successful? I know there were still struggles, but it made it now where you didn't leave the business again. You didn't get burnout. What were some of the different things that you reapplied or applied differently when you got back into it in North Carolina?
I've instinctively known and know to this day that your success in this business is in direct correlation to how many people you talk to every single day and interact with, have meaningful conversations with, and really ask them for business in whatever form you feel comfortable doing. I've just never been a shy person. I mean, I can talk to you I think everybody wants to talk about real estate. Ours is the profession in life that a lot of people think they know more of than we do. So it's never hard to strike up a conversation. It was never hard for me to ask somebody, are you thinking about selling your house? It's just never hard.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we're not selling life insurance where we have to talk about death or it's like it's always a talk of a party, so it makes it really easy out there, right? So yeah. So okay, so you're out there and you mentioned that for your first 8 years there's a little bit of a roller coaster, struggling with finances, and what then clicked going into your ninth year that made it different?
Well, of course, the first few years and everything, there's a couple of factors. One of them is I was working with both buyers and sellers for the first 8 years I was in the business. And I didn't really take time or pay for additional training. And so after about that 8 or 9 year period, I started to go to seminars. I started to increase my sales abilities. And the second thing that I did was I started to focus on listings as opposed to, I let the buyers go. I actually hired an assistant that would work with the buyers, and I focused on listings.
Yep. So I love that. Yeah. So you started your team. I mean, how long ago was that you essentially started your team before teams were even a thing?
Well, it's really true because I just never liked to work alone. I always liked somebody, to join in with the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat. It was either one. I just wanted somebody there to celebrate with or to cry with.
Yep. No, I love that. So you start expanding your team. Now, I mean, I know today you've got a large team and to handle the production that you guys do. Walk us through that. What was the journey then? Because it's one thing to go out there and be successful selling yourself with your clients. Then now, okay, you're doing some of that, but you're also leading other people and trying to inspire them to take action. Let's walk through that. What was it like building your team after you hired that assistant? What was your next hire, and what were some of those learning experiences through that process?
Well, I just hired an admin assistant first, and she worked with me for years and years, and she's actually now in the business and doing quite well. But for the first couple of years that I hired her, she just helped me with my paperwork. So I hustled that, and she told me one time, said she felt horrible taking a paycheck from me because she knew I was writing it out of a credit line. So, that was kind of interesting. But after the admin person, then I hired a couple of buyer's agents, and that was really a big step. And then I started focusing on listings. And then you have somebody else that you have to be concerned about, worry about, are they getting enough leads to make a living, and making their goals. So it is quite different. The leadership aspect of being a team leader is something that I hope I've gotten better at over the years. It's a growing process. You never stop. You never plateau. You're never as good as you want to be when you're leading other people.
Yeah. Well, to become the number one team leader in the number one company in the world and the number one in the world at it, I got to say that you're probably pretty darn amazing at it. So let's talk about, what does your team look like now? What does it look like today? What's kind of the structure, and what's your involvement with them?
We have about 10 agents. 3 of them are specializing in listings. So we have about somewhere between 7, it depends on the year. This year, I think we're up to probably about 10 buyer's agents. But usually we run about 7 buyer's agents, and then we've had up to 3 listing agents. And up until about 24 months ago, I was actually taking listings myself. So I worked in conjunction with one assistant, as opposed to now I rarely work with a listing. I do it occasionally just because I just got to feel the beat of what's on the street and what's happening and what we're dealing with out there. Because, the consumers and buyers and sellers change. They change. We can't stop growing. We can't stop developing. If we stop developing what we do, the internet will take over our business, and we will be out of business, and we'll be just a little bit like maybe Uber.
Yep. And they have that now. They have Curb Call, and they have Uber for real estate agents. It's, all those things are trying to disrupt our industry. So when you transitioned out a couple years ago, because when you really break it down, there's probably only a dozen team leaders that I know of on earth that have really been able to do that, where now it's a true business. They're not actively selling in it. They're just working on the business. What was that transition like? I mean, was it scary? Just walk us through that.
Every move is scary. When I first let go of buyers, that was scary, because when you're working with somebody, you can convert them, and basically that you can take leads and convert those leads into closed sales. It's hard to give that up. So it was very hard to give that up with buyers. It was 10 times harder to give up listings, because I've personally taken up to probably 42, 43 listings in 1 month myself. So I knew what I could do out when I was putting myself to the test. That was hard, but I have to give Jay Kinder the credit for that, because I was at a meeting with Jay Kinder and a bunch of other people in New York City about 2 years ago. And I said, Jay, when's the last time you took a listing? And I think he told me 3 years or something like that. And so I just said, if Jay can do it, surely I can do it. And so I came home with that mindset to segue out of listings, and that was a very good meeting. I appreciate Jay to this day.
Yep. No, he's an amazing guy. That's for sure. So, a popular thing now in teams that we're seeing is the ISA model, the inside sales agent model. That's exclusively helping generate leads, following leads. So then we have really appointments that you're able to give to your agents. Have you adopted any type of a model like that?
We don't currently have an ISA. Honestly, I've had people in that position before, and I just haven't found the right fit. I'm not saying that I'm against it. I actually am for it. But I just don't think that we found the right person for that position. But it's a coming thing. It's there. So is a client appreciation a position. So is a working strictly to keep in contact with your past clients. There's so many things that we can segue into to develop our business and have a large clientele now. We're thinking bigger in the industry.
Yep, absolutely. So, in order to keep all of this together, right? Because I'm sure you have a lot of amazing past clients that you do business with. That's probably a big part of your business, plus new business coming in. Plus, you're overseeing, it sounds like, about 13 agents. You got to have great systems in place. What are some of those systems that you're using in your business that helps you keep all of this organized and hopefully having things not slip through the cracks?
Well, we use a lot of things. We use Boomtown. Boomtown is a source that we use. We use the ReMax system. We've got top producer. We've got great admin staff. So we've got a process for everything. And of course, we have an onboarding process. When we list a home, we have a very particular way that we do it. We promote it before we actually go live with with that listing. And it's really helped us because we've sold probably over 33% of our listings over list price and had multiple offers on about 33% of our inventory in the last, I'd say in the last 15, 16 months. We just had this, I've used a coming soon promotion. It's a strategy for how you build up momentum for your listing before you actually open the doors. And it's worked like a charm for us. And now we're probably in about 25 markets across the United States. And the website nationally is called comingsoonhomes.com, and our local site is comingverysoon.com.
Yeah, no, I love that. So, and I've got to imagine that's got to help you double end significantly more deals than you were before you were in that strategy as well.
It's interesting because I think people would think that, but it's actually not a system for us to double end. It's actually focused more towards seller benefit, homeowner benefit, to protect their equity, to actually get every bit of equity that we can out of that house. So we do not show the home during the coming soon period. We do not allow our agents to show the home. We promote. It's very similar to if you're going to have a concert in your town. You're not just going to dump it in the local concert or the local MLS or what would be the equivalent for that locally. You would promote that. You would tell people it's coming, like a motion picture. They don't just put a new movie out at the theater this weekend. They tell you it's coming for weeks and weeks before it actually shows up. Therefore, you walk down to the theater to look at the show that you were going to see that night, and you see 4 other shows that look a whole lot better. So you got that momentum building up, and we fill the room and jam-pack the first of the listing with our best clients and make a grand entrance to the market. It's worked very well for us.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's like, when you're talking about that, I'm sitting there looking at this thing with Apple, and Steve Jobs was the best at that, right? And you're taking that same, building up that anticipation in real estate. So I love it. So
exactly.
You talk about doing that and being in 25 markets with that. So is this a company now that you have that you go out there and you help other real estate agents do that in their marketplace?
We do. And it's really, honestly, it's just not for everybody. It's really for a company owner. It's for a good sized team, somebody that really wants to dominate listings in their market. That's the right vehicle for them to be able to do that, because we've got exclusivity in certain markets, and it's a great option for a team leader. I just think there's different levels of real estate. There's people, I was thinking about this yesterday, because I was taking continuing education. And there were people in there that hadn't sold a house in, 15 years, but they still get their license every single year. So I think the first level of having a real estate license is somebody that just likes to collect licenses. They've got a home inspector license, they've got an appraisal license, blah, blah, blah. The next level, I'm going to call the doctor's wife. they're in the business, go to have lunch with somebody social. It's not really, it's not really a serious thing. It's more of a social thing. And then the third level is probably somebody that needs income. So it's a job. And then you get to the level, maybe your career next. And then after you go to a career, then you become an entrepreneur if you carry it on. And then you got those people that just want to dominate the world.
I love it, love it, love it. So, what is the name of this site again? I just want to make sure that our listeners, because this is something. I mean, so many people are struggling right now because most of the country is in a seller's market, and they're really struggling with getting out there and differentiating themselves and getting those listings. So, we really want to make sure that everybody has this site and checks this out because I think it's something that's really, really important.
Well, the best thing to do is get in touch with me personally at MartiHampton.com. The national site is comingsoonhomes.com. But to really explain it and to go in depth with it, the best thing to do is just to email me at Marti, and spell Marti with an I, M-A-R-T-I, Marti at MartiHampton.com, and I'll tell you all about it. It's a great way to have a unique selling proposition that can't be copied by the person next door. If you've ever been to a listing and there is 3 packages of the other 3 agents that were there before you, and maybe you get the listing, and then the first thing you ask the seller is, can I have those other 3 packages? You just want to check them all out. This is something that can't be copied, so it's a great opportunity for the right fit.
Yeah, and those of you that are either watching or listening to this, we're going to have Marti's email and website right below, so make sure that you guys go click that, check that out right now, and reach out. So, you just said something that I think is really critical, and unfortunately most don't grasp it. It's like, I don't know if you've read the book E-Myth, but it's, so many businesses fail, not just in real estate, but they always see themselves as the practitioner. You see yourself as the chef or the baker, not as the owner of the business, not as that entrepreneur. At what point did that really click for you in your career? And what were you going through at that time where you then learned to look at this from the lens of an entrepreneur?
Well, you go into your motivation. Why are you doing this? Do you have a family? Are you doing this for a family? Are you doing this just to have income? If you're a single person, you want to have a nice income. Okay, those are the things. When my personal story is when I got my children raised and I knew I had enough money to send them safely through college, and I sent my children to Europe, all kinds of things that I didn't have the chance to experience. So I knew all that was covered. And this is very personal, but I'm going to tell you. I had a breakdown. I went to a therapist for probably 6 or 8 months, and I said, "Oh my gosh, do I really want to do this anymore?" So I worked back and forth in my mind, and I knew I had worked all those years to raise my children for my family. And then this one thought captured me and says, "You've done this business all these years for somebody else. What can you do for yourself? How far can you take it?" And that's when I got it. That's when I said, what can you do? And it's challenging yourself. You will always do more when you challenge yourself than you will if you compete for somebody else. And it was a turning point for me.
I love that. That's amazing. So, I get asked this question a lot, and I really can't answer it because I'm not a mom, right? I mean, I'm married, and my wife stays at home and raises our 3 young kids, and so I'm in a unique position where I can go out there and grind 80 hours a week and not have, So I get this question a lot from the podcasts and podcast listeners of, how to really balance it, because a lot of women entrepreneurs that are mothers, they might feel that internal guilt from focusing on their business and they're not at home enough with their kids, and then vice versa. When we know you got to do both, how did you overcome that and become so successful by doing that?
Well, that's a tough question. The balance, I don't know if there is a balance. There's certainly, you want to put your faith first, you want to put your family first, you want to put other first, and then you're supposed to put your job first. But let's face it, this business is a time-consuming business. And many times I've canceled many a vacation because something was happening in my profession, in my business, that I had to turn right around and come back into town. And I just accepted that. I mean, it was like if you're a doctor and you had an emergency call and you had one of your patients was really sick, would you cancel your vacation? Of course you'd cancel your vacation. It's one of your patients. So the balance thing is tough. I will tell you that that I had 3 kids that turned out really, really well. So I must have done something right, but I won't even take the credit for that, because I think it was, to be honest with you, we stayed in church as a family. My children and I gravitated around our faith, and that's how we developed, and that's how we did it.
Yep. Awesome. I love it. So, all right. And this is just a, a hypothetical question. I know that, it's not going to happen, or hopefully it doesn't happen. But if it did, if something happened and you lost everything today, I mean, your health is good, kids are good, family's good, but financially, 2009 happens again, or who knows what, right? And you lose everything. You're having to start from scratch. But you retained everything you know from all these years of doing this. What are some of the first things you'd immediately do to go out there and really rebuild this massive empire that you built?
Well, rebuilding real estate, if that was my goal, to rebuild real estate, I would start with a better database system and a better way of contacting people. And now, of course, I have some of that in place, but for years and years and years, I didn't have a really great database full of my clients. And so when a sale would close, I didn't systematically stay in touch with them. If I had done that, I would have made twice the income I've made, and I've done really well. So, but I say that is a very crucial thing. So I'd start that, and then it's just instinct. I mean, it's just instinct that I knew every day that I came to work that I had to make something happen. And I got on the phones, and I became really good at the phones. I like to say I'm really good in person, but I'm hell on wheels when it comes to making a phone call and getting something out of it. And I don't talk for a long time. I'm a pretty bottom line person. My goal when I'm on the phone is either to get an appointment with you, find out where you are in the process, or find out next time I need to talk to you. So I think it's the number of contacts that you make. You can't get away from that. It's a business. Business is based on the number of contacts you make per day, and you just have to be vicious about that.
Yep. So, you've been in the business for a lot of years, right? Like 25 years, I think.
Almost 30.
Okay,
almost
yeah.
30 years.
So you've seen a lot of changes, right? From the IDX to now. I mean, now changes are happening so fast; it's hard to stay on top of it. And you said something earlier about, hey, if we're not careful, Uber will take over with this. So going through this and now this 30 years of your experience, what do you think agents, or like what would you recommend or suggest they really go deep on focusing today to ensure that we don't get replaced?
Well, first of all, you can't teach hungry. So you got to determine what your why is. And the second thing I would say is you need to specialize in something. You need to do something better than anybody else in town. But whatever you decide to specialize in, make sure there's a market for it. In my market, for example, you could specialize in really, really high-end homes and you'd starve to death. So you can't really do that in my market, but you need to specialize in something and develop that portion better than anything. You better just take it to the next level, think of ways you can improve it, and just go up and up and up. That's still what consumes me to this day. Right now I'm working on, of course, I've told you about the coming soon, our onboarding process for listings. And I worked for a very long time on the listing presentation itself, what to do to the client, how to interact with the client before you go to the listing. If you get, the presentation itself, I've worked in depth on that. I also know we've got exactly what to do if we get the listing. We've got exactly what to do if we don't get the listing. So the next things that I'm working on are basically, now I'm working on the client themselves, how to interact with them in a fun way, but yet an educational way, to give them little bites of information, usually through video, to be honest with you, during the whole process, to encourage them, to tell them we're there with them, we're going to get through this together, but also give them educational tips on how we can make it through and then get out the other side with what their real estate goal is. So that's really important for me. But my next big thing is to work on the actual process of how do you sell this property. We have a huge success rate of selling the first 30 days. But what do you do with those houses that are there 35 days, 60 days? What are you really doing to sell the property? And I think most agents, if they were boldly honest, would say that once they put that house in MLS and maybe make a brochure, maybe put an ad in Zillow, they're done. They're just waiting for MLS to do their job for them. And I beg to differ. We've got to think differently than that. We got to come up with a better plan.
Yep, love it, love it. So, it's very easy in life to have start settling for good enough. Good can very easily become the worst enemy to greatness. And you're somebody that could just be like, hey, I'm just going to coast, right, and just have your team do their thing and probably be set for the rest of your life. But what keeps you not settling for good enough and always going after greatness?
I have no idea. I've tried to relax. I need to talk to my therapist. I just can't do anything half-heartedly. I've got to be in there at 110% or I'm not happy.
Yep. Just how you're wired, and it's, no, I love that. So, it's said in business, and not just business, it's something that, we tell our kids, show us your friends and we'll show you, your future. But it's said in business, you're the result of 5 people that you spend most time with. What do you do to kind of protect your environment to make sure that you're not spending too much time with or allowing negative people or making sure that you're surrounding yourself with those people that are helping you level up?
Well, I still go to a lot of training. There's a lot of training that I want to go to, and it's mastery at this point. And I think some of the biggest developments that will happen in real estate will come from business training outside of real estate. There's a recent training that I went to called The 4 Disciplines of Execution by Franklin Covey. I went to a 2-day course with him, and I have to tell you that I've been to a lot of training in my life, but that was probably one of the best 2-day courses that I've ever been to. And it's the thought process behind it is, you hear anything about it, read 36 books this year. Well, read one book 36 times and really get it as opposed to 36 books. So that's the focus that you've got to have. And so I don't know if I answered your question, but there it is.
Yeah, no, I love it. So, you mentioned that your energy and taking care of your health and that attributes to so much of your success. And you could tell. I mean, your energy is through the roof. You can tell that you're very passionate. I'm really curious, like, what is maybe your daily routine so you have that type of energy? Because so many people suffer from it so heavily. Like, what do you do day in and day out to be able to maintain this?
Well, that's a great question. It'd probably bore you to tears, but I have a couple good habits. One of them is I put a big bottle of Le Bleu, which is made right here in North Carolina. It's the purest water. It doesn't have any of the plastic of that bottle in it. And so I put a 32-ounce of Le Bleu right beside my bed. When I wake up in the morning, before I do anything, I drink all that water. So I've got a lot of water in my system. I love that. And then actually I'll do, for about 30 minutes, I will do something very positive. And my positive, you can do whatever yours is. Mine is reading the Bible for 30 minutes. My head has got to be right before I do that. So 30 minutes I'm there. I'm going to do some weights in my bedroom. The next thing is I've got a little routine of weights that I do. And then I'm going to get on my treadmill and I'm going to go 2.5 miles every single day. I just do not feel right unless I've done it. It'd be like going to work without brushing my teeth. It is just such a part of my system. So that's me. I'll do a protein shake. I'll do some fruit and then I'll have at it.
Yeah, there's this amazing book out there called Daily Disciplines. And it's like they went out there and studied the 500 or what they deem the 500 greatest minds out there, like Picasso and Mozart. And, it's a page dedicated to what their routine is. And it just seems like the most successful people out there have that specific routine that they do every day before they get their day started that puts them at their best self. So I love it. So you mentioned 4 Disciplines of Execution, which is one of my favorite books, and it's a book that I always recommend to entrepreneurs as well. What are some of the other, I know this is a tough question because there's so many great books, but what are some of the other top reads that have really impacted your business that you recommend to our audience?
Well, Good to Great is a great book. The book that I read early on in my 20s, which really impacted my life, I know you've heard it before, was Think and Grow Rich. And I've probably read that book at least every 10 years, maybe more often than that. But I've read that book over and over again, and that is a very strong book to me. I love that book.
Love it, love it. So, I created this podcast. I started this podcast because it's in the real estate space, and not just real estate, but all businesses. It just seems like there's so much smoke and mirrors, right? There's all these quote unquote gurus or trainers that have never even done it. I mean, we have the top coaches, not saying they're good or bad, but they've never actually even sold a house in their life, right? So I'm like,
Right.
let me go out there and create a place that people can come and learn and grow from, where I talk to the doers, people like yourself that are in the trenches every day that have went out there and actually done it and created amazing businesses. So with that being said, our listeners are listening to this show right there because they want to go out there and create an epic life and business like you've been able to do for yourself and your family. So do you have any last pieces of maybe words or advice or inspiration that you'd like to leave them with so they can go out there and accomplish that for themselves?
You'll go through many things that will be hard. In anything worthwhile, there's a price to be paid. And sometimes people, I think, that quit, they say, oh, it's too high of a price. But to me, providing for my children, there was no price too high. There was nothing I wouldn't do to obtain a level of security, financial security for my family. There's just nothing I wouldn't have done. And so I think you go through things that are very, very hard. I've had other agents attack me. I've been through legal battles. I've been through all kinds of things that get to your heart and make you really doubt your way. But you have to persevere. You've just got to have the grit to get through it, because there's another side. And once you get through it, you'll feel the strength and the power from overcoming yet another challenge. And so I would say, just this business is just such a blessing to me personally. I know if you really want to make it in real estate, you can make it, but you got to be around people that tell you can make it. You have to want to make it when those bad times come and just push right through them. And I'm always here. If anybody really ever wants to talk about real estate, I will talk about it because it's been so good to me.
I love it. Powerful words, and I think that's such an amazing message that hopefully everybody that's listening to this is really taking this to heart. Because I know, like, when because I got in the business at 23, a young age, and I used to see top producers like yourself and think, man, they must be born from a special genetic code. They must have something special that I don't. And as you start meeting a lot of top producers like yourself, it's like, look, they've been through those same challenges. They're just people that are willing to outfail, out-persevere, and out-push everybody else and just never, ever quit. So, no, I love it and really appreciate you being so genuine, authentic, and honest. It's there's so many egos in this business, so it's such a pleasure when I have the opportunity to speak with somebody that's so successful like yourself, but that's so honest at the same time, so I love it. To our listeners, I know I end every podcast with this, you guys, but information without implementation is just the start of delusion. No longer is information power. It's taking action on the information, implementing on that information that creates power in your world. So Marti just shared with you guys so many great pieces of information, so many nuggets. Make sure that you take something that she shared, go out there, take action on it so you can go out there and create that life that you know you want and you deserve. And again, go check out Marti's website, reach out to her on her email below. And Marti, this has been such a massive honor. I really, really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are, and this has been amazing.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed you. And my staff said you were a great looking guy, so they said you could call.
That's very kind of them. All right. Well, thank you.
Have a great day.
Yeah, you as well. And all right, listeners, we will talk to you and see you guys next time.